Hey guys, just real quick, I just want to let you guys know you can find me at patreon.com/Jonathan Rector. All your financial support there goes directly back into making more content for you guys and you ladies out there. And remember, you can always cancel your subscription at any time. And if you are one of my Patreons, thank you so much. Your help gets me closer to making my personal comics and my dreams come to life. Seriously though, head on over there if you guys are interested, and anybody that gives any money at all, if it is something that you're interested in, you do get access to my pencil brushes that I use in Manga Studio 5e for free, and there's 5 of those guys. So subscribe today if you're interested in it. Share if you're not. Maybe one of your friends might be interested in it. I appreciate all of it. Thank you again, and enjoy the video. Bye. Hello everybody, welcome back to Live Scribbles with Jonathan. You can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. And I just want to say, Happy New Year to everybody. Hope you guys and girls all had awesome holidays. And if you didn't get a lot of goodies from Santa this year, that's okay. Hopefully you got to spend with some family. And best of all, hopefully you got a little bit of drawing done, whether it was personal or otherwise. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today... the sound is cracking, eh? Okay, well, hopefully the recording is pretty smooth. I don't know what else I can do on my side here. LiveStream might just be kind of funky. But anyway, I just wanted to show really quick. Yeah, so here we go. My brothers helped me just clean up my website a little bit so you guys can check it out. Right now, the artwork and things still need to be done, like my current projects still need lists here, but this will be the look for the new website. So you guys can always hop here from time to time. Like I say, some of these images are going to be changed out for sure. But right here on the left, obviously, we're going to have something that's like the newest thing that I'm either promoting, whether it's a personal project or it's art that I just kind of finished. A lot of the clients that I do work for, they like it when I do these YouTube videos, and or they also like it if I can pitch in with some marketing, all that fun stuff. But you'll be able to check that here. You can click it and find some more information out. All here in the current projects, those are going to be, there'll be a drop-down list of projects in chronological order as I finish them. So before, if you guys remember the old website, a few of you messaged me and you did like it. I kind of liked it too, where these little things that look like progress bars or experience bars. And the reason I wanted to get rid of them is they're really cool, but what they do is the percentage that they're done doesn't really tell you anything. I think most of us that are kind of looking, just say you come to my stuff and you're like, oh wow, can't wait for blank to get finished. That's cool, but I think the majority of people just care when something's finished and they can look at it. That's what I care about. So I'm trying to streamline that, so that's there. And I put Twitter right here on the main page because I'm trying to make a big push to talk to you guys a little bit more on Twitter and all that stuff, so you guys can follow me and all that fun stuff. And then everything's been moved to the top. So I'll have my portfolio up very soon. The art blog, which a lot of you are probably used to. If not, I'll just quickly jump there. I won't spend the whole show just talking about this. The store does work. I'm in the process of changing that, but there's a few things on there if you wanted to purchase anything from me directly art related. Head on over there. And of course, we got Patreon. All the people that are Patreons over there, thank you so much. I appreciate all the support. I'm actually working on, I don't like telling you guys so much about the stuff I'm working on because if it doesn't come through, then it just sounds like I'm just talking. But I've been looking around, doing some solid research over the holidays, and after the project that I'm working on right now, Worlds in Peril, what I'm looking to do is build up my portfolio to send it to some potential big time, some companies to see if I can get some work through there, and or definitely anyway, starting a personal project. And what I'm going to be doing is making a little switch to my Patreon. Not now, this will all come probably months from now, but I just wanted to give you guys a little heads up of what I plan on doing. And getting the webcomic sort of started to be printed as probably a graphic novel, I don't know. But I will be switching the Patreon paying route to focus a little bit more on comics and the creation of it. I think a lot of people, you guys in the chat as well, I always hear you guys always talking. I get private messages, which is awesome. Everybody likes to know process, or how do you do something, or how do I do something. And you guys hopefully know I love to share this stuff. So I'll be moving a lot of the stuff, like how I'll make a comic page or panel and stuff, and I haven't thought the specific details out, but I'll be changing Patreon to focus more on personal work / actual comics. as opposed to right now, it just seems like you're giving me money, even though the money that I am receiving from you guys, I do put directly back into this stuff. So finding ways to get more videos out and all that fun stuff. The tutorial section, you can click that. I'll just open a new window. I showed it to you guys before. It's literally just like a table of contents for all my videos on YouTube. So if you're looking for something specific, instead of just searching through YouTube, it might be easier for you to hop over here and just scroll down. There's tons of stuff here, so a lot of reading, but you can look at something like a specific topic, and hopefully something was addressed there for you. Obviously, live stream, you can just click that. It'll take you right here, and contact me. That's where you'll find me on Facebook, Twitter, even though it's here, DeviantArt, all that fun stuff. But the art blog, I just wanted to reiterate, for those of you that aren't on Facebook or don't follow my fan page or on Twitter, that's cool. You don't have to be. If you are like me and every now and then you like to hop to some artists that you dig and you just go to their blog and you just start scrolling, I wanted to incorporate more of that on my blog because right now I feel like it was very sporadic. So every Sunday I update with kind of what happened that week and the pictures that I shared on Facebook and Twitter. So as you can see, like I just call it Weekly Juice. That's the article for it. But you can scroll down. So we got like a little process shot of this panel here for Worlds in Peril. You just scroll down. Whatever I posted. I even talk a little bit here about the Oxymoron 2 cover that we just finished with the link to the video. And this guy right here, I got an 11 by 17 printer, which I'm really excited to get into to start doing some actual prints and stuff. But yeah, you can check out on my website and all that good stuff for that. So I just wanted to make a quick plug for that, just because it's fun to do. It's fun to plug stuff. And so what we're going to be working on for the next month, hopefully it'll be a month and this will all be wrapped up, is more Worlds in Peril stuff. But this isn't comic book pages. As you can tell, it's like a big pinup, and I'll just explain a little bit what's going on here. But this is for those of you that don't know, Worlds in Peril is a tabletop role-playing game that I'm fortunate enough to be able to do all the interior artwork for, which is a monumental task, bigger than I thought it would be. But it's a great learning experience, and I'm having a blast doing it, even though there's a lot of work. But these are, anybody that's picked up like Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook or anything like that, that's what this is, all the art that would be in there. So you're going to have all the player text and stuff around it. So I just need to do a bunch of different pinups. And what this one here is, this character is just one of the main characters, and she's busting out of a bunch of character sheets that, you would make your own, character. And you put all your class information, stuff like that. So this would probably, I believe, right around her hand, about this much that's selected is the left page, and the other's on the right. You guys don't really need to know that. So I'll be doing all the artwork and design for this, and then I send this off to the, what's the right term for him? The layout designer, and he's the one that's making the book look as sexy as possible. So all we're going to be doing today, hopefully the whole hour won't be taken up doing just the inks. It might be, but if we're fortunate enough, these have to be colored as well, and I'm doing a sort of simple style coloring for it. I'll just show you guys really quickly a couple of the ones that I've done already, just so you can sort of see how this, where this sort of goes. Internal, I'll show you one of them here. So I'll go right to the rough first. Hopefully, I guess I don't really have the scribbles. Did I really not do any of these? That's poop. Color. Okay, well I guess I can just show you these here. So I don't really have the. I don't want to open Photoshop and bog my computer down just to show you guys some of the rough stuff. So this would have been the inks for this one page here. This character here. So this is what we're going to be doing today, is just the inks. I got this guy all jazzed up, and then this is sort of what the colors look like. They're just a simple flat color with a single shading color put over top. There's no highlights or anything like that. And the reason for this is just to speed. It's just to get the speed because of the volume that needs to be done. I'm trying to find like a balance between the two that hopefully it still looks good and it doesn't look like I'm phoning anything in, but this is just black and white and then the color. And that's the exact treatment we will be doing with this. And then, enough pimping of what's going on. After this, I usually leave it up for the last 10 minutes. I figure since it's the first stream of the new year, we're going to go maybe 20 minutes to a half hour of just what's it called? Critique. So if you guys have any art that you like critiqued, by all means, please paste the link at the end of the video, and or when I let you know, which will be in about, I don't know, 40 minutes or so, and then I'll just pick one or two, and then we can kind of do a critique over it, and hopefully you guys get some jazz out of that, and it helps you out. And the very last thing I'll say is one more time, this show's for you guys and you girls. This is the 1 hour a week that I like to give to you guys, even though I am doing work. If you guys have any comments or questions or needed help with anything, please, by all means, ask it in the chat. I just ask that you ask the question in all capitals. That way I can see it easier. And don't be shy with your questions, because if you've got a question, I can pretty much guarantee you at least somebody else, whether they're in the stream or not, or they're going to watch one of the YouTube videos, the questions you ask, people have it. So be the voice for those that can't ask it, and plus it just makes the show a little bit more fun, you know, it throws a little curveball in there. Thanks, Noah. Noah is saying that he likes the cell shading because it doesn't overpower the art. Thanks, bud. And it's actually pretty easy to do. It's simple, which is good. Okay, so the workflow that I'm doing here is the Freddie Williams method, I like to call. Except I'm using a pressure-sensitive brush for the base line art instead of just that 3-pixel brush. I feel like it just gives me a little bit more range. But as you can see right here, this is the outline around the character and how it stops at her forearm. So what I got to do is I'm just going to quickly go in here, just add some line weight, just like that, just to break it up. I want these lines all to be bigger than what's in front of them or behind them. Whoops, I don't need to go in the shadow. And I'm going to do this just before we add some shadow, even though I've kind of done her face up. Normally, if you guys actually go on YouTube, I recently just uploaded a video for the Oxymoron cover where I showed how I've been inking. It's like a 2.5 hour video. It's beefy. But it sounds like you guys like it. And in that video, I go over my normal workflow, worrying about line weights and things. I'm not, even though I'm doing it right now, I won't be doing it as methodically or as much as I normally would do. Again, speed's the issue on this stuff. But we don't want to compromise that speed with just junky looking artwork. If we can make the art really pop, that's what I'm looking for with the least amount of time. It sounds really, I know it might sound a little weird, like it's, how do you skimp on the art quality? Basically, that's what it is. How do you skimp on stuff but still make it look good? And that's something, oh man, that's like a skill all in of its own. And you're not skimping on stuff, like, I just want to put this out there. Don't be one of those cats. I was like this for a long time when I was first starting this, was kind of treating client projects like homework. Like when you're in grade school and high school, you just put it off, and eventually you'll get to it because you have to get to it. And that's not a good place to be in. If you find yourself in a situation like I am where the deadline is the deadline, but the deadline's been pushed back a few times because of how long it's taking to get the art done, and then you sort of have like a, this is it, this is the last deadline right now. You have to find creative solutions to still hit that deadline, right? And that's sort of what I'm in right now. We're in, if you want to call it DEFCON Red or whatever the hell DEFCONs are and stuff. Whatever the DEFCON 3 is it? Absolute terror, panic mode. That's sort of where we're at right now, where this work has to get done. So there's certain things because of that have to give, right? Like I can't just go in there and just noodle everything. I just have to make it the best that I can make it so it doesn't look like people are losing they're not getting their money's worth. That's the worst thing. It's giving people stuff that they just don't feel like, you know. If somebody says that's okay, that's not a very good feeling, especially if they paid for something. It's not a very good feeling. But anyway, let's just quickly go through here. So it's like this whole area here. I need contour line for her breasts, and then her torso. Normally I would go right in there and just start worrying about all the line weight, but I know I'm going to be using quite a bit of shadow to make some of this pop. So it's just the main forms that are overlapping things, those are the ones I'm hitting. So like normally I would go into all those fingers and stuff. I might even do it to the belt here, I'm not too sure. I think we'll just fill it with black instead. What else we got here? Okay, so we got her legs. You know, like things like this right here. Let's zoom out, see how it's looking. So you can see, I like to do this from time to time. So this was the art that was normally in there. And then just by turning the layer on and off, try to excuse all the inking done on her face already. But you can kind of see like the hand that's in the extreme foreground popping just by adding some line weight to it. That's really all you need. Okay, so where do we got the light come from? The top left. So I'm going to worry about this fist. This fist on her face are pretty much the most important part of this image. So I'm going to try to spend most of my time in these spots to make them hopefully really pop. And that's most likely where the rendering is going to go. So when I'm trying to worry about what, it's like economy of time is kind of the way of thinking about it. So if I only have a few moments to work on something, what gets the most bang for the buck? Jessup, you're sitting on my keyboard, buddy boy. And you know I will be doing rendering and shading and stuff, and rendering and shading everything and putting line weights on everything. Boy, does that take a lot of time, and it looks really slick when it's done. But we don't got the time, right? So we gotta have some of it where we're gonna It's kind of like what's a fun way to think about it? Let's just say you're running a business and you're paying your artist to do something. You kind of have to figure like, okay, what job or task or skill am I going to devote that artist to, you know, to make the best art with what we got. There's this awesome, as much as any business person, including us, especially if you're selling your talents or somebody's paying you, there's this image that floats around from time to time on Facebook, especially. It's probably been on like Instagram and Tumblr as well. And it's like that pie chart, and it's got three things on it. Something, I believe it's quality, cost, and speed. And you can only ever get two of them. You can never have all three. So in the case that we're looking for, speed's out. I don't have I need speed. Speed's what I need. So if it's speed and quality, then that means it's coming expensive. But I've already got the money. So basically at this point, it's speed and money is what I'm working with. So the quality is what takes a hit. Now, I know that might sound scary, and that's like sort of like what you hire an artist for, right? Like, well, they're so good. That's why I want to get. That's why I'm paying them, is because they're so good at what they do, which is true. But in my opinion, if you are an artist or if you've been doing this for a while, if you've got your any salt in you, you should still be able to bang something out quickly for cheap. And I don't recommend working like that, but it's a good way of getting a lot of money. Sorry, let me check the chat here. Noah's asking, what shall I draw while I watch? I think you asked that a little while ago. Let us know. Let us know in the chat. What are you drawing? What are you guys all drawing? Let me know. You guys doing some fan art? Actually, I just got a YouTube warning notification, which is interesting. I guess there's a video I did, how to place characters in a perspective. And the intro picture, if you guys remember my old YouTube videos, I would always have have my website and stuff on there, and it would have like a link to, or not a link, sorry, just an image of something that I would just use as like the intro image. And it was these cute little Ninja Turtles, and I guess I got flagged for it. I guess because it's Ninja Turtles and I'm monetizing it. I didn't think it'd be a big deal, but so I had to unmonetize it. Not that I think I made like a penny on the video or something silly like that, but it's just making me get a little leery because like I can't really do licensed stuff anymore on YouTube, and it's just coming out of nowhere. Like that video is 2 years old, maybe 3 years old. I don't know how it works, like if just people eventually find it or if a viewer flagged it. I'm not sure. So if you guys happen to know anything like that, you let me know. Very interested in that stuff. Justin saying, John, I don't know if I told you, but I have cerebral palsy, and I don't know if you told me. You may have. I can only use my left hand. Do you know of any tools that help improve my art? Wow. Well, I'm left-handed, so you can still draw. But the fact that you can only use one hand, you know what? I don't know if see, because I know money affects a lot of people. Um, the one beautiful thing about digital, right? It's let's say Manga Studio especially. So I can use any of these functions just by clicking on them, just like you can in Photoshop. But you can customize all this stuff, which is even better. But on the Cintiqs anyway, they all have like hotkeys on the left and right. So let me just draw it. I know you know what one looks like, but this is what I'm working on, the small one. And they have like little keys on the left and the right for left or right-handed people, and you can map those buttons to things. So I think you should still be able to draw even though you can only use one hand. I guess speed kind of takes a hit because you can't be doing two things at once, right? Which kind of sucks. Um, and the unfortunate part is I think you're sort of forced into spending more time practicing than the average person just because you have to figure out, right, how you can get around just only being able to use one hand. Um, yeah, I don't think I have another. I can't think of anything that you could do besides just studying. I could be wrong, but I'm assuming digital is probably pretty good for you because you could have like anatomy books and stuff on your computer screen if you could. Maybe just if you've got a tablet or maybe even just practicing on pen and paper and then opening up anatomy books and stuff on your computer so you can kind of go through that. You know, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Sorry, bud. There we go. So, okay, Noah's drawing Spider-Man. Cool Lucky Man is drawing a sci-fi woman. All right. James is working on a comic of his own. It's good to hear. Michael is saying, I'm hoping to start my own comic soon. Do you have any tips for me? Because I don't really know what I'm doing. I will recommend that anybody that wants to do comic books and you have never done a comic book, start with a mini comic. And nobody wants to do mini comics because they sound like lady versions of comics. And I use the lady version in like the most polite way. It's sort of the I don't know. When I think of comic books and all the comic books I've ever wanted to do when I was growing up that I thought I wanted to do, they were all like, I want explosions, I want fight scenes, I want all this cool stuff, right? And I always felt like that could only be told in like a graphic novel because it sounds like it's more impressive than it actually is. And the sad part is that most of the ideas I was coming up with, and even still to this day, they don't deserve to be long form comics. They deserve to be. I just have ideas of fights and stuff, right? They're not. That's not a story. That's just things that happen. So one thing I would recommend. I usually get you guys to go here, but let me just punch it up. So you guys can check it out after the show, or you can stop watching now and get started on comics, which I recommend you do. Let me just pop up my website here. Okay, so if you go to my site, it's probably the easiest way, or just go to YouTube. I believe right here, if you just go down to tutorials, it should be under, here we go, General Comic Book Production Tips. And what you're looking for is how to make a mini comic. And let me just see if I can find it. I suppose I could just find... that might be it right there. The very first one of the very first. Oh no, here we go. So we've got idea generation for a mini comic. That one actually goes through how to script it, I believe, and then how to make a mini comic does the same sort of thing. I'll just quickly pop that open, just so you can quickly see what I'm saying here. Yeah, this like how old this is. This is when I was using the webcam. Oh my goodness, 2011, 4 years old. Wow. But yeah, I'll show you how to fold it and all that good stuff. And even right here, you can see how I script this out. I highly recommend you watch this video. Do it. Make a mini comic. Just make a mini comic. You can't lose by making a mini comic. And it'll actually show you a lot of stuff on how to make a book. But that's what I would recommend you do. Just make comics. There's no real tip. Just keep researching. The more you make, the more you'll actually learn doing the stuff. And then the more you'll know what you need to research to get better in the weaknesses that you got. Maddie Draws suggests read Making Comics by Scott McCloud. Yes, that's a great book, especially if you're totally new to comics. And she's saying that the first chapter is free on Amazon. Right on. There you go. You can always check that out. Justin saying he has an Intuos 5 touch. I'm not sure what that is. If it's just like the normal tablet that you would draw on, I mean, I don't know if you could. I guess you could map the keys on the side to like a button press, and that might help you out. I think that the part that would suck for you is doing this right here, moving, because you got to usually hold a space bar to do that, and if you only got one hand, I don't think you could do that. So you're stuck doing this sort of thing, and that's what I'm saying. I'm sure you're gonna have to sacrifice time to get the results you want, just because of the extra steps you need to take, which is probably a really huge bum out for you. But that's not to say you can't do it. Let's just zoom out here, see how the fist is looking. It's looking okay. Cool, like I made it saying my mini comic is 3 pages, no ending. That's really good too. Another recommendation is Comics and Sequential Art by Will Eisner. Fabulous books, fabulous books. It's good to hear you guys are doing your research. You guys are looking at this stuff. Okay, so she's got, this is all flesh here. I don't want to render this too much or put too much shadow on there because it starts to look a little weird on the ladies. Although, trust me, if I'm drawing She-Hulk or Wonder Woman, oh, those ladies be ripped. But I'm going to save all the shadow and the rendering here for this part of her costume. It's all actually like a, I don't even know if it's a latex, I'm not sure. It's just like a dark bluish gray. You'll see a lot of superhero comics, they'll do this, where the flesh side of the character is like all in here in her face. There's very little rendering and shadowing, but once you start getting to the costume, that's where all the rendering and the shadow kind of comes in, and it looks pretty good. So I'm just trying to keep. If you guys notice, or if we haven't noticed yet, I like to use a lot of these sharp shapes, these like triangular shapes. I'm sort of just carving out stuff, which probably isn't the best way to be doing this. But I'm trying to figure out ways to break it so it's just not all solid black in here. So you'll see here once I fill it in. Right, like I'm breaking up those black spots with some white. And then I need to round this form out here, so this has to have rendering. This is the only way you can really make it look. You can do it with shadows too, but if you can add a little bit of rendering, it really makes these things bend and warp and feel like it's twisting around a form. Which is a great tool to be able to have. You don't necessarily have to do it. It depends on your style. I'm actually going to just black these out right here. We don't necessarily need all that. Let's see if it looks rounded out. Yeah, it's good. Oh, sweet. Somebody posted a PDF of the theory of comics and sequential art. Justin, you're going to pick up the DC guide this weekend? Oh, awesome. Let me know how you like it. I would especially like it from your unique point of view as well, to see if a lot of things transfer over for you. Michael Damian Weimer asks, have you ever done a comic with another comic artist before? I've been in a few anthologies, yes, but I've never had to draw with somebody. Like Well, there's one that I won't really bring up, but there was one project I did where I did the backgrounds. And it's a very fun way to work. But if you guys don't gel very well, oh, it can be really gross. It turns into work. It doesn't turn into like, don't kid yourselves. Comics are great. Comics are one of the best, if not the best, storytelling devices, in my opinion. They're very fun to work on, but it's work. It's a lot of work, a lot of hours that go into this stuff. I think more hours than the average person really thinks or cares to know about. And working with other people, you gotta be, I don't know, you either gel with people or you don't. And that's what I'm saying. If you don't gel with the people you're working on, it makes it a lot like work. And it's not, nobody likes work, right? Usually. Usually people don't like work. Or if you do like work, you like to have a little bit of fun, you know. There's times to be serious, and there is time for work. But not recently, no. Usually when I'm working with comic books now, if I'm hired, and by artist, I'm talking about like somebody doing what I'm doing, like just literal drawing. I have worked with inkers and colors before, and it's usually hit or miss if our styles jive. That's about the only negative. Other than that, it's for me nowadays. It's like that's what I expect. I expect to be working with other people, and you guys hopefully have heard me talk a bunch of times about a change in attitude. For a long time, there was sort of like this conceitedness I would have about comics, where it's, well, I only want to be the penciler because then it's my art, you know. And I still believe that. I that's what I like about drawing, is coming up and creating things and people enjoying what I'm making. But with comics, more than likely, unless you're just doing your own book, you have to work with other people because it's faster and it generally can look better. I don't know. It depends who you talk to about that, and if your style's gel, like we've already talked about. You know, um, so if I know I'm just doing pencils and I'm going to be sending this to an artist, like let's say I was working for Marvel, and I would most definitely just be working on pencils. I would think. Um, I don't think I would send portfolios that look like this to Marvel, even though it might look fine. I think there's, well, I know there's way better inkers out there, so I could just spend all my time doing the best pencils I could do. And I know that since I'm working with a team, that it's not just about me. It's about the book. It's about the title. If I'm working on the Hulk, it's about the Hulk. It's not about John's art. It might be how cool John's Hulk looks, you know, and that's only because of how cool so and so inker inked over my pencils, and so colorist colored the entire book to make it feel as kick-ass as possible, right? There's a lot of names on a comic book, so if you're one of those people that doesn't like to work with other people, I would highly recommend just sticking to self-publicated work. I've worked with a few people, not a lot, just a couple, that were that type of personality where it was just like you couldn't ask them to do anything. It was, they would submit something and you're like, no, 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 that how do you question the artist? If it's art, then it's right because the artist made it. And I don't agree with that, because I think when you're going, it depends what you're doing, right? Comics in general, it depends where you're going for comics, but for the majority of the big publishers, they're always right because that's their project, that's their title, that's their brand, right? They know what they want out of it, and if they hire you, they just like the way you do it. But at the same time, we've all heard of certain artists that get picked up because, man, do they ever make our characters look cool? No, just do what you want. Don't worry about what we want you to do. Just keep doing what you're doing. It looks great, and I think it'd be really good to be in that position. But more often than not, it's all team books. You know, you're part of a machine. And when I changed my attitude to just think like that, it was actually a big relief. I know this isn't part of your question, but it was. I just wanted to touch on it really quickly. It was a big relief when I started switching my thought process through that, because I knew not necessarily that my art had to be or could be lazy or anything, but that hopefully our team gels to the point where we all walk out at the end of the project with better art than we walked in on. And that's the more satisfying part. And if people are reading it and enjoying it, that's the icing on the cake. I could do the worst art that I think I can't stand that art. But if people are reading it and they like it, like it's sort of like a little icing on the. It's a band-aid. It definitely helps. Get you through like the next issue and stuff, which is good. But anyway, let me just jump back here. Oh yeah, Kev Phil's is actually saying something here, Justin, I never even thought about. Great idea. Is on-screen keyboard lets you click on modifier keys and they will stay in click state until you click them again. Yeah, that might actually help in a lot of situations, I think. Especially with hotkeys and like if you're working in Manga Studio here, they have the auto actions, and in Photoshop it's the same thing. So what you could probably do is set up a lot of the stuff. Not a lot, but I mean there is things that you can definitely do, like what I have here, blue lines, contour lines, and stuff like that I'll be making more of. That you could just spend the time to record that, then just press play and it'll do it all, and you could hold shift and do some stuff. Yeah, that might actually work, man. Give it a shot. Yeah, getting people to work with you is hard. Yep. No. See, yeah, James, you're talking about exactly what I was kind of saying in there. Smudge 3. Hey, John, how are you liking your new printer? I've been looking at a similar model to yours. How does it handle printing on thick, smooth Bristol board? Smudge, I don't know if you emailed me earlier this week. Somebody emailed me asking me a similar question. I'm going to respond to them. But what I plan on doing is I may as well do a video on this because, like I say, you never know who's out there who's looking for certain things. And if I can shout out and just talk a little bit about what's making my comic book stuff fun, then everybody benefits, because if at least one person gets something out of it. Anyway, to answer your question, I haven't actually printed on Bristol yet, which might sound like a little bit of a what? I printed on legal paper that was 11 by 17 that I have. That's just like regular printer paper. I bought that stuff back in the day because I would do my roughs on it, and the roughs didn't need to be on Bristol, I didn't think. I do have Bristol, but unfortunately the deadline for this project I have to be very disciplined in not even doing sketches for myself, or very rarely will I do sketches for myself, at least for the remainder of this month. Hopefully not running into the next month. But that's where it's at right now. So I couldn't really tell you just yet for the Bristol. That's why I'm kind of waiting on the video, because that's when I'm going to do the stress test, I like to call it, to see how it goes. And what's really cool about it, guys, is I don't plan on just going back to traditional art. Not at all. But from time to time, being able to do that, I think is powerful. And the biggest thing is not that I have a lot of commissions to do, because I really don't. But it can actually help with inking. Like I could do, let me just show you. So just say this was a character somebody wanted me to draw. So I draw this, and this right here, just these flat lines, I put an 11 by 17 piece of Bristol in my printer and just print this on rich black. And then when I bring this over to the drafting table, when I get my pens, and I usually only ink with markers and like not even pens, like fancy pens. It's like almost just like it's a C-Tech pen, it's called. It's very fine, but there's no line weight to it. And I have brush pens that I kind of use, but then I would just do this over top, just ink over top. And hopefully it looks good. That's the actual stress test. If I can do that, then that's what I wanted to get out of it, is being able to ink traditionally with this digital workflow. And if it doesn't work, it's not a total loss, because like I said, the portfolios I'm going to be making are going to be just pencils. So I'm going to do the workflow that's talked about in the DC guide of just printing out my digital pencils in blue and then just doing type pencils over top. And it's basically, it was a Christmas present. And it saves me. I have a video. If you can't afford an 11 by 17 printer, that's cool. I got a video you guys can check out where I go over. All you need is like a window or a light table. If you can make a real cheap light table, and if you can't make one, just do your art during the day, or save your light tabling for the day time, and just put your art up against the window when the sun's out, and you can just light box that way. And what that lets you do is you print out on 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. And then you just tape them together. It's kind of a gross way of doing it, but I mean, if you're trying to figure out ways to do things when you don't have money, you get creative, right? So that's why I had to do those methods there. And what I used to use that stuff for is I would print it out real gross like that on 8.5 by 11, and then I would light table it onto Bristol, and then I would do my type pencils over top, and it just gave me a little. It actually increased my speed a bit because it eliminated any use that I would need of having to erase necessarily. Like if you'll always hear digital artists talk about working traditionally, and they're like, "Oh God, how many times I got to redraw this face? The body looks awesome, but the face is nope, the face is brutal." And you got to just keep erasing until you get there, you know. And that's why, honestly, I just think digital. People start looking for creative solutions, and people just stumbled into digital, and it works for comics, especially, or illustration in general. And it's stuck. It's stuck ever since, you know. Anyway, okay, you did. Okay, so I might email you anyway. Just give you a personal response. If not, hopefully you got a little response now. Noah saying, I've got a client where I am the penciler, inker, letterer, and writer. Okay, so I hope you're getting paid a lot. That is a phenomenal amount. Basically, you're making, unless you're getting paid to do your own comic, you're being paid to do somebody else's comic. I don't understand how that works. So if you're very lucky and you're getting paid to do your own comic, I'm very envious. And congratulations. If not, I would recommend next time when you want to get a job and they ask you to do all that stuff, you charge a lot. Does my printer doesn't have an 11 by 17 scanner. That's why it was so cheap. I believe the printer is $200 Canadian, and I actually had it on my Amazon wish list. And weird story, I was in bed around 2 a.m. really late for me during Christmas. It was about a few days after Christmas. Couldn't sleep, so right before I went to bed, I just had my phone there and I opened up my Amazon app, and they have I forgot all about these, but flash deals, absolutely insane. I hate them because they're so good that I end up spending money sometimes, like especially in comics and stuff, that I'm like, yeah, I'll try that book out. It's cheap, right? And so you kind of get stuck in this weird situation. But so I was looking on there, and the printer I wanted, which is so weird, was on there for $100 off. So for $100, I was able to get a scanner, which sucks that I can't, or sorry, a printer that prints 11 by 17, which is all that I really want. The fact that I can't scan that whole thing, it does suck. But usually to get around that, I have to scan 11 by 17 in 3 times and then piece it together in Photoshop and hope for the best. For $100, I couldn't say no. It just seemed like a really good deal. Where do I get my C-Tech manga pen from? Ah, crap. Amazon, you can find it. Usually I buy like 2 or 3 pens, and then I'll try to buy like 10 replaceable inks. Just because they're so expensive and I can't find them in a store near me. So thank God for the internet. You're paid to do somebody else's. Interesting. So somebody else pitched you an idea and you have to write it and turn it into a comic. Oh, okay, Kev. Kev's saying, what is it? Used to be an Epson's $2,000 wide format printer was the only way to get big prints. HP makes some good alternatives, maybe better for a fourth of the money. That must be why. You can splice it together to airport. Yep, you totally could. Okay, so we're about the 45-minute mark. I'm just going to throw it out now. I know I'm not done the inking here, so I'm going to do it. If there's anybody in the chat that would like a critique done, by all means, please post it in the chat. And in about 5 minutes, I'll pick 1 or 2, and we'll just kind of go over it. And if you wouldn't mind, if you're just posting the art, that's cool. But if you have something specific that you'd like me to address with it, please, don't be shy and throw it in there. And then the last little thing I'll say, because, I don't like saying this, but I've had a few people do this. Please don't just post art because you think either A, I can get you work, because I can't, and B, please don't post art just because you actually don't want to critique. You just want me to say, oh, how awesome you are. Please don't be one of those people. If you are, you're just wasting everybody's time. And I hate that I have to say that because I know usually most people are pretty cool about it. I should save some of these emails I get so you guys can just get a laugh. Like people, I don't know where it comes from, but people think I can get them work. Like I'm a guy trying to find work too, and I don't get it. Do not get it. Okay. What was the question there? Michael's asking, what is the longest, or when is the longest you have ever worked on a project? So most of the projects I work on are long ones, and they're long because of me. I like to, unfortunately, take on big projects, and my appetite, my eyes are bigger than my stomach, basically. Life has a fun way. There's only been one point in my life where I did art 100% freelance, and pardon my French here, but I fucked myself over, and I regrettably wasted that time. And I'm not sure what would have happened if I had done things better. But I wasted a lot of time when I had an opportunity to do freelance, and it's a mistake I'll never repeat. And it sucks because I wasted that time, but at the same time, I was a little younger, at least in my thought process of work. And I matured since then. So I know if I ever get that chance again, what not to do. But in saying that, the problem that I still had, especially 2014, was getting a little bit better with some project that you guys don't really know about. But before that, my problem was deadlines. And not that I wasn't doing work. It's kind of what I talked about literally at the start of this video is I was unable to figure out ways that I could creatively do the work I needed to do in the amount of time given to me. If it's up to me, every piece of art that I get, I always try to do the best that I can, and a lot of times it never comes out as awesome as I want it to because I'm spending too much time and I'm rendering everything and I'm just trying to, I would get inside my own head. That being said, the longest one was, I would definitely say the standard, and that's a recent project. That took, I think, 2 years for 6 issues. So that's about 3 issues a year. And if you break that down, that's crazy. Like, it shouldn't take you that long. In my defense, just to put it out there, nobody cares, I don't think. But some life stuff did happen like it always does. And right now I'm in the situation, well, not even now, but back then too, I was working 2 jobs as well as doing that. And I needed the jobs because of the money, obviously. I had to pay for stuff, and as people will tell you, comics don't pay a lot usually, especially indie comics. Projects like these sorts of gigs are awesome because they pay really well and they're really fun to do. But it's not comics. You know, there's some comics in it, but it's not. This isn't a comic book, right? But you can sometimes get some really sweet comic projects, and they'll take you really far. Just if you guys do get a chance, don't be like John. Don't don't fuck yourself over and waste an opportunity to be freelance. And it can be scary to do freelance, man. Like all you can do is keep looking for work and just keep getting better and better and just fucking hope, I guess, you know. Doesn't seem like anybody would really do that, but sort of the way art is, I guess. For some people, I'd say for most people, that's the way art is. I could be wrong. Just an opinion on it. But my day job right now, I work at a company called iDream Interactive. We make video games. And a lot of the workflows that I've learned through there carried over into like my illustrations and comic book work, like tenfold, man. It's awesome. I actually really enjoy working there. A lot, not just, you know, I'm not just gonna say it because that's my job, but it's made me look at projects differently, and to just take things a little bit, not necessarily more seriously. Like I went in there, like the whole thing was a joke, but just that there's creative ways to think around solutions, such as like what I think I talked about you guys last time, or maybe it was in a video recently. I forget. A lot of these start to blur after a while, but it was really it's just budgeting your time. Like, what can you get done? And if you can't get something done, don't do it. Or it's a batching. That's what I was talking about. There's batching work. Like, how do you? What's the easiest way you can do something? And for me, like right now for this, the only way I can figure out to get this work done, and hopefully it happens, is batching. And what I'm doing is 3 to 4 of these drawings a day. So I'll do all the roughs, all the line art, all the inks at the same time, and then I'll do all the coloring at the same time. Instead of doing like one image all the way to a color, and then the next one all the way, because I feel like I definitely get burnt out doing that, like doing one whole image to completion, and one whole image to completion. This way is a little bit easier because I can look at the time and go, oh God, I only have 2 hours left. I need to color, you know? So because of that, I have to squeeze in a lot of this stuff, but it gets the work done, right? And it's I don't know. It's interesting how you can take jobs that you have, or where you work, even if you're at like a retail store. I did plenty of jobs there. There's got to be something you could, if you think about it or you try really hard, that you can take back from that and bring back to your illustration. Business, I mean, not, that you draw better. There's got to be something in everyday life. Like if you hear somebody talking about something, like maybe they've done some advertising, or let me just try to think if I can give an example of something I would have learned. I worked at like a dollar store for a while, long while. Video game store. I worked at an EB Games in Canada. That was an experience, man. But like, okay, I'll use EB Games as an example. One thing I learned there was the power of pre-orders and sort of like how you can market your own stuff. Now, I don't like EB Games. I think it was actually a really gross company to work for. Like the stuff, the shenanigans that they pull over customers' face and that you're sort of forced to do in some reach around way, like scratched games, and you still take it in, even though you sold it knowing that the chances of it working are very slim. But once the people have spent the money, they can't really return it. So once you have their money, you have it. And people come in pissed off all the time saying like, I just bought this used game that's not that much cheaper than buying it new because you said I'd get a discount card, an edge card, and that it's guaranteed to work. And it didn't work. So then we tell you, oh, well, we'll find you one. Then you can't. And then you got to wait. Like, who wants to wait in that stuff? Anyway, long story short, what a lot of that taught me was pre-orders are powerful, and you can sort of set that up in comics. Like, give people an incentive to go, you know what? So-and-so, I can't wait for your comic to come out. I'm glad that you have, Kickstarter or something. I want that book. If I can pay for it now, that's great. But do I get anything for doing so? And that's huge. And it just makes that's the kind of like mentality I think you need in a way, besides just general marketing and all that stuff that nobody really wants to talk about, to do freelance. And that's why I was saying I was very immature at the time that I was given the opportunity to freelance. In hindsight, they did a lot of things that were wrong. Anyway, okay. So it looks like we got 2 more questions really quickly here, and then I'll jump right into the crap. What's it called? The I can't remember. Critiques. Jeez. Okay, so Justin Incredible is asking, how much do the black and white layers help file size? Massively. They help it massively. What I do, for those that didn't watch the video where I talked about it, Manga Studio 5, one of the viewers here, and I forget your name if you're in the chat right now, please let me know, because thank you so much. I finally figured out how to do it, even though you told me before. All the layers have to be black and white. So if you look here, if you click on any of your layers, there's this thing called layer property window. Mine's default open. I don't know if I accidentally set that up or whatever. But expression color, you can go in here and change it. It defaults, at least mine does, to color. I like to work in gray. That lets me build up values. But then when I send this to myself to color or somebody else, I go to monochrome. Now I'll actually do that right now just so you can see it. Look what it just did to the artwork. Even though this is gray, it should be blue. I'm going to change it back. But Watch what happens to this liner. Like, it's very pixelated, but when you go monochrome, it's just black and white. That looks disgusting. But when you zoom out, it doesn't even matter. When this prints, it's so crisp, it's disgusting. You can actually go in here and change some of the settings so that this art can actually look a little bit better if your lines are too thin or something. But the file size for that is like so small, you have to do it. And I'm more than sure, I could be wrong, but at the time anyway, and even in the DC Comics Guide, Freddie talks about that. That's the file he sends, and everybody that I know sends bitmaps because the colorists prefer it. But when I'm drawing in just this gray, every time I save, I would tell you guys, like, you guys would see me when I'm drawing, it would spin. It's taking forever to save. Now it's not even close. It's just like, it feels like Manga Studio 4. So for me, now that I finally understand how to get that to work, I can't imagine working any other way, especially if you're only ever going to do just this black and white stuff, you know? So I recommend you guys try it if your Manga Studio is a little slow like mine, or maybe your computer sucks like mine does. So I just want to finish this ink right here on her thigh. She should be pretty much done. I just gotta do the hair in the back. But yeah, so she's pretty much done. So it's good we got that done in time. Not sure if I might have to add some stuff to that arm. Not sure if I like it. Anyway, okay, so. Yeah, Kev Phil is actually saying something that I agree with. I'm stumbling a lot. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. What he said there. Sometimes brushes designed to be used on color layers can also yield interesting results when you just do black and white. So let me open, what is this, page 10? Page 8, maybe. Yeah, okay, so this character here, once I turn this to monochrome, this brush layer right here, like, look at that. That's like almost like a brush pen. But when you turn to black and white, like, look at it. It's got this real slick texture. And this character's costume is made up with all these, like, very tiny creatures, like robotic creatures. So when it's done on a black and white like that, it actually adds that grit. And it looks real slick. And the other thing to remember, too, is once you actually start putting color on here, or even gray wash, or just gray at all, it actually softens the black line. So at first it looks gross, but you learn to like it. You learn to like it. I wouldn't post it on the internet. Bitmap, especially when it gets smaller, looks really bad. But for print and things, it's very yummy. Okay, so let's get a new page here. File new. We'll do 11 by 17. Cool Lucky Man, do you have to have a DeviantArt page to post comic for critique? No, however you can send it to me. I'll take whatever you got. I think most people just do DeviantArt because it's easy and free, and or they've had DeviantArt for a very long time. Okay, so I'm just gonna randomly grab one here from Noah Comics. We'll go with you. John, please critique. It's still sketchy. I feel some parts are wrong, but I'm having trouble spotting them. Okay, so what Noah's asking us, or asking me here, is to see if we can help him pinpoint what it is that's wrong with this picture that he can't really see. And I would assume you could let me know if I'm wrong, but when you can't really pinpoint what's wrong with your art, it's probably because you've been spending quite a bit of time with it. And it's a good old Superman picture. Alright, so let me just get the chat back so I can see you guys. Okay, so... Ah, man, it always does that. Just move this here, and let's zoom in. Let's go take a look at Soups. Alright, cool. So we got Superman. Awesome. One of his popular poses. So, right away, the anatomy's off. I can spot that. And I want to talk about your rendering real quick. Okay, so I'm just going to take some notes here. So, things that I need to talk about. Rendering. Anatomy, and I always feel like anatomy is something that's subjective, and a lot of people always have issues with anatomy, but I just want to show a couple things that usually help, and it's usually a structural thing. So I'll just say this now that I think I should just start saying this with everyone. And it's not to make fun of anybody or point anything, because I still do it and I still need help with it. And I do it in my spare time is please, please, please practice structure drawing when you can. So I mean filling sketchbooks with dudes that just look like cylinders. And just kind of figuring out what, the underwear shape or something, and just making tubes and trying to figure out creative ways that you can get your structure down. There's no anatomy on this stuff. It's really just bone that you're thinking about and form. And by form, that's like a cylinder or a square or something like that, right? And then there's there's perspective here, but you can go very rough and then add perspective and then do this, okay? Which I might do on this one. But anyway, so anatomy, and your rendering. I'll say that's about it, just so we can kind of get this going. So let's make a new layer here. And I'm just going to draw some blue. So what I want to do here is what I like to do with everybody's is I'm just going to draw over what you did structurally here, okay? Just with the information that I have. And then we can move it over and we can kind of see if your structure was right and the anatomy was kind of got a little lost, or if the issue is something else. Okay, so right away there, I can see a problem here. You have this twist going on in his abs, where if you look at his pelvis, you've got one leg right in the foreground like this, and the other one back there, which means that his pelvis looks like it's to the side. So if I were to draw a box, you kind of have his pelvis looking like this. Okay, and like a leg would come out here. So your abs have to be on this plane right here. But what you did, like right here is where the abs should be, but you just went straight up because that's what looks right. But there's a twist that's happening in there. So I'm just going to draw that twist in there, even though you didn't put it in there, because it'll be easier to see once we go to the next step here. I'm just going to, whoops. Just going to faintly put in structure you had here for the leg. All right. Okay, so let's move this over here so we can see what the structure looks like. So that's the structure that I got over it, okay? So as you can see, the structure is not bad. Like a lot of it's, it works. The problem is your anatomy, you lost it in the, I would assume, you lost it in the perspective portion of it, right? Like if you, sorry, yep, you can email it to me if you want. It's here. So what I'm saying here is the perspective that you lost, or maybe you kind of forgot about, or who knows. A solution that I find that usually works for me is when I'm doing this sort of stage here, I find it very beneficial to sort of add lines that go around these forms, right? So this thigh, for example, it looks like this leg is over top of that, which is fine. But the anatomy tells us otherwise. So with these tube shapes, I'll just show you here. So it's just this. It's rounding the form out. Okay, so you can see where your knee would go, but the perspective, when you start doing this sort of action here, it really makes the perspective easier to see, so you know if you're on the right direction or if you're kind of getting lost. This takes time, but this is all I fill sketchbooks up with, to be honest with you guys. Every now and then I'll just do like actual drawing in them, but I do a lot of this stuff that I just throw on a piece of paper and throw them out. Or if I'm out getting dinner somewhere, maybe I'll get a sketchbook and just do it. Yeah, somebody's actually saying that right there. Go to quickposes.com, or hell, grab a comic book. Watch a cartoon, watch a movie, pause, play, pause, play, pause. You can get poses anywhere. Eventually you'll get comfortable and you'll start getting creative, and you'll know where to put these things, okay? So I'm going to use the same thing you have here, but I'm just going to draw the anatomy over top. Let me get a neck in here for this guy. Okay, because the structure's not bad. It's the anatomy that's kind of getting lost in some places. And like in here, it looks like this is something I see a lot of people do, and I just want to point it out. Is this right here? Okay, so you got your shoulder, right? Which is actually very small. I'll show you how it should look here. But then people go ahead and they put the bicep in here, which you should, but then they kind of get lost, like they don't know what's going on. So you started adding the tricep muscle up here, but you've also got the tricep muscle down here, and it's flexed. You have it coming to a point. If you actually flex your arm right now, even if you don't have biceps, you can press down on your bicep, right? Like flex it like Arnold Schwarzenegger would. You can feel it. But if you feel underneath where your tricep is, it's straight. There's no point like your bicep. Now if you stretch your arm out, kind of like if you were taking your shirt off, you know, so you make a fist and you straighten your arm out and you flex the hell out of your arm. It might hurt your elbow, but flex it. Now you can start to feel muscles in the tricep area. You know, even if you got a little bit of fat, that's fine. Just go to the side of your arm. You should be able to find your tricep in there. But if you touch your bicep, it's probably a joke. It's like nothing until you flex it again, right? So you need to remember that flexing stuff. So like how this arm would look, I'll show you here. And you'll see the difference there. Yeah, so I'm not going to go too much on this. Let's just keep drawing here. So I got my anatomy, or my form. I have an idea of where my anatomy should go. So the first things I like to do is usually start with like the rib cage. Those kind of go in here, and I know that this whole shape goes down like this. And our center line's kind of going up here. Now this arm is actually very straight, so I'm just going to put in my collarbone, even though we might change it. And this one's going to kind of go up because we need room for that shoulder. But right here, you put the shoulder in front of his pec, which if I'm doing that right now, I get it, but it wasn't drawn correctly there. So we'll see when we get there. All right, so what we'll do now is we need the pecs. So they kind of come down. They go up and they wrap around like this. And I'm actually going, I like to do this stuff first here. Draw what's ever in the immediate foreground. Right, so I can, if I trace these lines here, you can kind of find where your elbow is supposed to be. Okay. So when you start rendering this stuff, remember all that form that you put underneath. And the purpose of that form too is it helps you do this stuff. It helps you find where your perspective is, or how to render your form. The whole point of rendering, from my understanding, is to round and show volume to that form, right? So his shoulder would be about halfway, so it's about there. So I'm just going to go ahead and just make a straight line and pop that bicep, because he's flexing the hell out of that arm. Right? Now, because I have the bicep up here, the tricep's going to go underneath. But remember what I said, it's flat. There's no line going to it. And that shoulder's flexing there. And from your pecs, you can kind of come up and start making your muscles in here as you need them. And I might add probably your lat muscle that would be there. And I mean, his head's really far off, so you're going to need some extra monster lats there. All right, so here we go. I like to find joints first for this stuff. So this will be about my center point here for my elbow. I'm just going to make a diamond shape and have it curve into the arm like that. With the halfway is where the shoulder should be. So whatever's in the front of us here, so this shoulder's got to wrap up like this. And then his biceps here. But remember, his arm is coming up, so it's got to be a point. There really shouldn't be much popping of the tricep. But since we're seeing so much of it here, we're going to put it in. And triceps can take a whole bunch of different shapes. And here we've got the forearm going away from us. It's not coming towards us. Like here it got empty. We want this going away from us. Right? And you've done this other thing too where he's got an open fist here. But the anatomy you have should suggest that it's going away from us. Okay. Now the twist. The twist is one of the hardest things to do. So I'm going to start with his butt here. Now again, just always remember and squish and stretch. Muscles always do this sort of thing, right? So when your leg is lifting, it works just like your bicep. The top pops up. And the underneath part of it is actually pretty low. Okay. So let me just erase this part here. And the anatomy here is kind of weird because we got this weird twist going on. But I just want to kind of have it here. I just want to show you this, and then we'll move on here because we don't need to beat this up here. So you got this part right here of the ribs connects to this part right down here in the pelvis, and it's like those love handle area. All right, so let's do the ribs too, or the abs. Remember, there's a twist going on here, so those abs have to twist away from us. Okay, so let's just zoom out here. I'm just going to turn these layers off so you can kind of see the difference between them. There you go. So the anatomy that I have going on and the anatomy you have, just so you can see, if you just left it like this, that's fine, right? But also, I know what you did here, and I like it. Like, the abs look really good, that kind of rendering that's going in there. But what I think's happening, and again, don't mean to attack or judge or anything, I've seen people do this. I'm not a fan of it, but the rendering looks like it was done like this. Like, it was just sort of like thrown in there. There wasn't much thought. You're trying to build up volume with it again, you know. But you're doing certain things that are right. Like, you've got the rendering in the right spots. It's just not following the form right. So I'll do the chest area. Okay, so you've got the light coming from the top left. So let's get some shadow going, like you did. Try to see if I can mimic it a bit. Okay, so now that I have that shadowing on his chest, let's just do this pec too. Okay, if you can remember the form that's underneath, that's exactly how your rendering should fall. So this stuff here would fall like this, and you build it up into the direction, okay? And if you want to go both ways, that's fine too. Just remember, just because the lines behind it are going in this direction, they also follow the form going this way too, right? Like, that's a sphere in space. So if you want to do that cross rendering, it's still got to follow that as well. I'm just going to carry it on all the way down here. And the rendering I'm doing right now is actually kind of thick, but should be able to get what I'm saying here. Alright, so I'll just do that there. I'll turn it off, just so you can see. So do you see the difference in rendering there? It's a different style too, I agree, but the whole point of it is just to help sell that form that it's rolling in space. And the very last one I'll do here is, you did all this hard work right in here, man, and I feel you, because it's such a busy area underneath the arm. It's very tough to do, but you killed the shoulder here. So if there's a way, the one thing I would fix about this whole thing that you could probably find is just the rendering. The rendering will help you out so much. So that shoulder, you went up and down, but if you look, that form it's rolling away from us. You know, if you wanted to kind of do it the way you were doing it, just roll that form. The rendering's so cool, guys, because you can get so much range with this stuff. Look at Manga. Manga does this really well. I'm reading Berserk right now. If you guys aren't reading that, do yourself a favor and pick it up. It's very mature. But the rendering that guy does is awesome stuff. So you see the difference there? Hopefully that helps you out, buddy. Okay, so let's just do one more. Let me just pick... actually, let me check my email, since you went through all the work there. Almost forgot about that. And then this will be the last one for the night. I wanted to say thank you guys again for stopping by. The stream's every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you came to the stream a little bit late, let me just see what time it is. The stream started about an hour and 20 minutes ago. So if you wanted to make yourself a little notification, because I don't believe LiveStream does it, and you wanted to catch this next week, or put it in your Google Calendar, whatever you like to do to get you a little notification. You just punch in next Wednesday, an hour and we'll say an hour and a half from now, and that's when the show starts there. Okay, comic page issues with. Oh, cool. Okay, so we got a comic page. Which is good. Normally we get like some anatomy and stuff. Oh, did it download it? Show in folder. Anybody else hate when they type? I did. I do this all the time for my YouTube channel. Whenever you type like Manga Studio 5EX, it always looks like sex. So I just looked at that. I'm like, oh no, did he just send me some smut? Some smut. I love that word. All right. There we go. So we got a comic page, and let me just go back to see. Okay, so what was your title here? Issues with page flow, proportions, and contour. Okay, so you're hitting a lot of things here. I'm just going to try to answer this in a lot of broad strokes. Sorry about that. The last plug I'll make for the night here, for those of you that are interested, okay, by all means, if you got the extra cash or if you want, head over to patreon.com/Jonathan Rector, and you can schedule an hour with me, and it'll just be you and I. We can go over exactly problems that you have, and I can go over and help you out. Or if you kind of like what I'm doing right now, I also have a cheaper version where we do this over email, and it's not just like oh, fix this, and you're done. I do type up some stuff and stuff like that to help you out. So if I'm not touching on the subject, or if you like what I'm doing here, by all means, check that out. So, okay, so page flow. Okay, so right away, all right, let's just take a look to see if we can understand the page. I don't know if this rendered out wrong to you without the port or the, what's it called? The panel borders, but it looks like it's still rough. It's not done yet. So we got this character here who's, I don't know if she's coming into this scene or if this guy is just like a hologram meditating in the next scene. It looks like she finds him. And I'm assuming this is the guy. I don't know what's going on with the background. I don't know if that's perspective and stuff. And then that's where they are. And then it's like a close-up of the guy talking about where they are, maybe. Okay, so I'll just go over some golden rules that usually are pretty good for comic pages. Is generally, in North America, we read from left to right. So you need to get from here to here as clean as possible. So you're going to have to do this zigzag kind of pattern. Now, you kind of got some stuff going on. Again, I'm just sort of playing along with what I think the story is. So this panel is leading into this, and then this is leading here. So I just want to show some stuff that you're doing really well. This guy is looking down here, which is great. She's looking here, which is great. She's looking at him, which is great. All of this is leading down, which is great. This guy's looking here, which is awesome. I might just right off the top here do something like this just to help with page flow right away. Don't have to do this. This is just a style choice. Where's my menu here? Yep. And I know why he's there because it matches up with that head there. But I would flip this horizontal just to see how that looks. And the only reason, this can go back and forth of which style you like, because when it comes here, your eye is led across here. And you've done some really cool stuff that works either way with right here. You've got some stuff going off into the distance, which is great because it leads us off the page. He's looking this way. Everything's leading that way. That's why I like to do this stuff. You don't have to do that, though. You can keep it like this, and it still works. He could be looking off to the page like over here, There's ways that you can get people to look around. The other thing is playing up with angles. Right now, you don't have any angles. Everything's straight on, which a lot of people starting out in comics tend to do. And it's something you have to be very conscious about. You have to try to think of creative ways to do this. So I'm just going to ask a question right now to who is this that's in the... whose page is this that's in the chat? I know there's a little bit of lag when I'm talking, but okay, cool, Lucky Man. Could you just briefly, you don't have to type an entire thing, just briefly tell me what's happening in this page? And there's one other thing that kind of concerns me, and I'll just point it out, and I hope you don't get offended by it. But I do see from time to time this happens with people, and if you're not doing this, or I don't want to be saying that you are, I just want to point it out. Just be careful if you're looking at reference for the images you're using, because if you tend to look at images for reference, your style can change, and it's noticeable. So if you look at, and this is just, don't mean to be rude, but the quality of this guy's face compared to the quality of this guy's face is two different art styles, in my opinion. This guy, and there's like some clear things that point this out. If you look at his eyebrows, how they flare up, and he's got lips that you can see clearly, both of them. In this one, you do have the lips and the eyebrows, but look at how like the economy of line that's going on here, right? It's very, very good. And then in this one, it's a different style. Now, again, if you looked at reference for this, just be careful of that. Or if you didn't, just be a little bit wary of the style you're showing people, because things can get, I can start to look like two artists, and sometimes people get stuck into using something that was like, what's the thing that I'm saying? People will start to ask, how do I keep redrawing this character? My characters always look different. And you weren't using reference. Okay, so just be leery of that, okay? Because I don't know what you did or didn't do, but there's things happening in this face that are just killer, that are awesome. And then this one, you sort of lost that style that was there. In my opinion, I would just be sticking with this face here. That's some solid stuff right there, man. Okay, so what's supposed to be happening in the page is she comes into the room. He ports. Okay, so I'm assuming he teleports in. Then she talks to him. So she comes into a room. He teleports into that room. Then she starts talking to him. Okay. So what I'll do is I'm just going to keep... we're going to make another layer here. I'm just going to do how I would do this page here, just to kind of show you some stuff here that I would do anyway. So I'm going to keep it very small and thumbnail-y. So from what you told me, she comes into the room, starts talking to him. So we got a couple shots here. I have to decide what's the most important one. So I'm going to go off what you were doing here. I don't know if what he's talking about, the background is the most important part. Seems like it. Or it's this. She's coming into a room and he's teleporting in. So I'll kind of use the panels that you had. So he's teleporting in. You got the big panel with him looking at the building, and there's the two panels of her talking to him. Okay. Oops. Yeah, let's fill that. All right, so just to change up the angles, sort of try to think about. Oh, he gets off the table. Okay, I see what you're doing. So what I like to do when I'm doing this sort of stuff is try to think as much as you can, and it's tough. It's very tough. Is to think of if you were filming this like a movie. And the only reason I say a movie, even though I know comics are better than movies, arguably, they do different things. You have to be able to figure out what's going on, right? So sometimes what I'll do is, even on a thumbnail, if this is the first sort of thing, I'll try to make a layout of the room. Okay, so let's make a layout of this room. So I'm going to say there's a hallway. I don't know if this is an apartment building. I'll just assume there is. And this is the door leading in. And there's this big room here. And here there's like this giant window. Maybe there's another bedroom or something over here, and we'll put a kitchen area there. Okay, so she comes in. Teleporter's right here by the window. Maybe there's some couches over here. I hope I'm not butchering the hell out of this. Just play along. She comes in there, and maybe there's like a bookshelf right here or something, just because I'm kind of using it what you were doing. So now that I know this, let's try to figure out where the camera's going. I think looking out into the background is awesome because it shows the city too, right? And it's probably a cooler shot than the kitchen. Plus, it helps place this area. So that means I'm going to use, this is sort of like the stage direction stuff. This is my field of view. All of my cameras, whoops, doing it the wrong way. Can I move this over? Okay. So this is my field of view. If you kind of imagine like a circle around this thing, all of my cameras point in this direction. And what this does is that way, if I ever show the kitchen like here, it's really awkward. It doesn't really, it feels really, really weird. Just see if we can get a smaller pen. All right, so we have to establish shot. That's the very first thing, establishing shot. Characters place where they're at. All right, so she's got to come in. He's coming, or he's in a teleporter. So I'm going to, I like to tilt my shots a little bit just to give them a little something, you know. And I usually gesture in where they're at or what's going on. You'll see me build it up here. So I want her down here like this, maybe a little smaller than that. We're going to know who she is, I'm hoping by now. So this is, the angle is like probably from this camera here, kind of going this direction, right? So we've got the bookshelf here. We're going to, I can already see the 1 point perspective kind of coming at her. She's the focus here, right? Kind of got it tilted out there. So we got the bookshelf. I'm just going to make the room around her. Maybe the door's still open. I know it's always weird, but it always looks kind of good. So we got the door open here. We got the cool windows behind them, and this guy looks like he was levitating or something. So I'm gonna put him up here with his knees up, in that Buddha kind of pose, and then we'll put the little pad down here. So what this shot does is it puts us in a place, but we still don't know how big that place is, right? But you've kind of established what's going on here. So I'm going to have this, and I'm going to have her, like she's still kind of coming in the room here, but she's looking at him. Right? And then in this panel here, I'm going to go with a down shot, just so that we can, or actually, these are some ideas, right? Maybe she doesn't, he's doing something that's, maybe he's the intimidating kind of character, or she's the intimidator. I'm not quite sure. But I want to show that really cool background. But I need to really pull back just so we can get the scope of this place. So who's the bad guy in this scene? If you were to make one of them a bad guy. Is she going in there to question this guy? Or is he surprised to see her? That sort of thing. Oh, see you later, Noah. See you, Justin. So she's the crazy one busting into this guy's house. Okay, so if that's the case, then what I'm going to do is, in this panel, she would definitely have her gun out. She's probably going to have her gun out here. So if she's pointing a gun, I want this guy to feel like, oh God, I don't want to be under the gun sort of thing. So, let's just sort of put some perspective grid lines in here, just to figure out what's going on. So all this is going to be the window, and we got the teleporter, we got the guy here, we're going to have her here pointing the gun at him, bookshelf again. And again, the reason why I like doing this up here is because there's elements that I'm putting in here just to like a couch, a bookshelf, a teleporter, window, so that I can keep showing that over and over again, and you know where you're at. You never get lost where you're going. If I were to show the kitchen all of a sudden, it's weird because I haven't established where the kitchen is. But in this shot, if I know they're going to the kitchen, I can add the kitchen like down here, right? I'm going to assume we're not, so we'll probably do some shadow work or something. We're going to have that there, the bookshelf, and then we'll put the couch. And then from here, we can have the guy, you know, doing the sort of face that you had, but change the angle up so it's not straight on him. Maybe he's lying a bit. I don't know. And then you can put all your city that you had. The city was fine. Like that. Okay. So that would be like my thumbnail. I would probably do this. I tell you guys to do this. I recommend it. If you don't got time, make time. Do 2 or 3 versions of every thumbnail you do, because you're going to start to find angles or things that you like or things that you don't like. So I'm just going to lower the opacity there. We're going to turn it blue. And I'm just going to do just one more layer over top of it just to tighten it up. I don't want to go too crazy here because I don't want to draw the whole page. But all right, so we're going to have our panels here. We're going to have an open panel at the top there because that's our establishing shot. I want this one to be a closed panel because it's very tight on what she's doing. And it's overlapping, so she's still, I don't know, I'm just trying to think out loud, like she's pushing into the other panel there. So now I know this guy here, I really need to get him going. So I want him looking that way, so maybe we'll put the ear there. And he's got his knees up or whatever the hell he's doing. I don't know how these guys sit on their little teleporters or whatever. So he's looking that way. A little teleporter underneath of him. Got the really cool windows. That you get to hint at the city behind him, that this place is massive, that he's elevated. He's in a place where, there's a skyline. So we got a bookshelf here. And I want her over here with the gun. But she's still very small too. And I would play with lighting myself, so she'd probably cast in the shadow this way. And you can actually show, this is a really cool part with shadow and light. You could do this sort of thing. Frank Miller does a lot of this in like Sin City and things like that. You insinuate that there's light coming from the hallway, right? Like that. So he's looking like, who the hell's in my house? What the hell's going on? And then she sees him, and I want that gun right in your face. So I'd probably even break the panel with it. Get that gun right there, like she's psycho, man. And then just push her face back, really like get that crazy going on. And you get to still play with what's your surrounding, right? So that framing that the door is doing, you can still use that as light behind her. And Unsung is saying, first pass, get the information from the script in. Second pass, all out awesome. And that's exactly it. Third pass, find the sweet blend of good storytelling and sweet money shot art. That's perfect. He's summing it up perfectly. Thank you, Unsung. So it's exactly what your first pass is. Literally what you're reading. Literally what your writer asks you of you. Usually writers have no clue. The really good writers, they know to leave it up to their artists. But a lot of writers like to work in a lot of different ways. Even if it's your script, write what you told yourself. And then in your next set of thumbnails, see how you can break it. See how crazy you can get things. Break panels. Get interesting. Use angles you probably wouldn't even think of. Make your brain hurt. Think about it. And then your third pass is sort of like if you can combine them. And how long did that very first thumbnail that we just did together take? If I wasn't talking to you guys, 5-10 minutes. If you can spend 5-10 minutes to make the next 10 hours of your art better, come on, that's a no-brainer. Give yourself that time. That's how you evolve, in my opinion, as an artist. That's how you push yourself to get better. Okay, so you can kind of see what's going on here. So it's looking, we're still building up. Hopefully, this 1 point perspective is still leading our eye to what's going on there. She's still pointing this way. And then in this shot, now we can show that she's traveled some serious distance. I'm noticing these characters might be, well, no, it doesn't matter. I was going to say they might be a little too small or what's going on because the first panel is like about the same. But that's okay. They both get a close-up shot in this page, so it's not that bad. So I think you can see where I'm going with this. All up here is the ceiling. the door that she came in. And then you get the really cool city that's back there. Maybe put the whatever the hell is there. And then in this shot, this is the panel that this guy really gets to sing in. Just one thing that I tell you guys is something that I remember Todd McFarlane talking about is try your best not to have the same size heads. And the idea for that is if the heads are always the same size on each panel, it makes things very difficult to look cool and look interesting, right? So maybe now it's this turn for this guy's head to pop over this panel. And it's sort of like a close-up. Like he knows he's got the upper hand, you know, that kind of look that you gave him. But make it bigger than the other panels there, right? So he's like here and he's looking at her. Maybe he's looking off to the side as he talks. I don't know. I think it's your city, but you can kind of see what's going on there, okay? So hopefully this helped you out. Okay, so I'm not saying do this. This is just an example I had. That's it. That's the only reason I was talking about this. Do it your guys' way. That's why we're all storytellers. We all got our own versions of things and how to make them cool. So that'll be it for this week, you guys. I hope you had a good time. It's great to be back. Like I said, I hope everybody had a great holiday and you were able to recharge some of your batteries, or at least, you know, I'm not really into people talking about their New Year's resolutions and stuff, but I'm a big fan of people making goals, and hopefully you get to achieve them as much as you can. So if you were making any plans or anything, or maybe got started over the new year, or you're just rolling into the new year with a whole bunch of new projects and stuff, I wish you guys the best. I hope you guys, by the end of this year, you're a phenomenal artist compared to how we started this year. So we've still got 12 months to go, guys. So challenge yourself as much as you can this year. Set some goals. If you're just getting into comics, I notice a few people are asking this. Just start small. Don't do your graphic novels. Do some mini comics just for yourself, or if you like to share the mini comics. Mini comics can be very awesome. They can be very detailed and stuff. Just start it easy, just like how you learn how to draw. And then eventually you're going to start to get into the big stuff. So anyways, thank you guys so much. Like I say all the time, I seriously appreciate it. You guys make these hours and a half go by like that. And it's a great pleasure. And like I say, I'm glad to be back. If you guys want to head over to my website, jonathanrector.com, hopefully over this weekend, it'll be finally done with all the new art and all that stuff on there. But for now, all the stuff you guys need will be on there. And head on over to the tutorial section. I got it all catalog sort of thing if you're looking for a specific topic that I may have covered already on YouTube. By all means, check it out. And if you came into the stream a little bit late, or if you're watching the recorded version here on YouTube, by all means, try to make it in next week if you can. It's every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, enough jibber jabber. I will talk to you guys next week. So, like usual, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you next week. Bye.